Welcome to Oxford News This Week. I'm Elgin Nichols.
And I'm Terry Stiles. In this week's news, Oxford gets a new EMS coordinator, a scout takes his place among Eagles, and seniors' hands make blankets to warm hearts.
Stay tuned. Learn more about these stories and others. The Oxford News begins right now. Oxford's Village Council selected a new president last week, but not everyone was pleased with the choice. In a 2-to-1 vote, Council elected Joe Frost to the position. However, President Pro Tem Eric Dolan objected to the nomination because of Frost's absentee record. As both Frost and newcomer Kate Logan were absent from the meeting, Council member Helmuth stated that she would prefer to have waited for a full council. However, council bylaws demand officers be voted on the first meeting after an election. In spite of Dolan's objections, Helmuth and Bailey voted for the appointment. Frost was absent from the meeting due to work-related conference in California. In a phone interview, Frost said he is looking forward to the new leadership opportunity.
Thanks to the Village Council, a new microbrewery is coming to town and will have a dedicated space for thirsty patrons to savor some suds. Last week, Council voted 2-to-1 to grant special land use approval for One Drop Brewing Company to operate a tasting room or a tap room where folks can purchase and imbibe beer that is produced on site.
Earning the Eagle Scout rank is the culmination of a Boy Scout's career, the product of years of hard work, education, dedication, and sacrifice. But Nicholas Seja, I hope I've got his name correct, doesn't view it as just another achievement or the end of the journey. Surrounded by family, friends, mentors, and fellow Scouts, Nicholas formally advanced to the rank of Eagle Scout during a Court of Honor ceremony held Saturday afternoon at Christ the Redeemer Catholic Church.
Addison's own Lakeville Animal Clinic is looking forward to expanding its facility in the upcoming months. Owner Patrick Glidden brought the request to the Addison Township Board of Appeals, Zoning Board of Appeals, which conducted a public hearing for a variance proposal on November 8th. Essentially, Glidden is looking to create more room for his staff and clients to be able to stand up, sit down, and turn around in his small clinic.
Another Oxford firefighter climbed the department ladder last week. In a 5-0 vote by the Township Board, Sarah Racer was promoted to Lieutenant EMS Coordinator effective November 27th. Racer joined the department as a paid on-call firefighter in July 2007 and became a full-time firefighter and paramedic in October 2010.
As we discussed last week, starting December 21st, peddlers, solicitors, and transient merchants looking to make a few dollars in Oxford Township will be subject to registration and regulation. Last week, the Township Board voted 5-0 to adopt an ordinance amendment that would allow these types of salespeople to conduct their business as long as they apply for and receive permission from the municipality, and they must pay a fee and abide by a set of rules.
Last week, the senior residents of Independence Village of Waterstone put the finishing touches on over 100 no-sew fleece blankets for Project Lioness. Based in Belton, Missouri, Project Lioness collects new, handmade, washable blankets and afghans for children ranging from newborns to teenagers who are seriously ill, traumatized, or otherwise in need. The blankets are distributed to kids in hospitals, shelters, and social service agencies. That's a nice project they have going.
I'm really happy to see that. And you know, they do that. They also, those seniors also do quilted blankets for the soldiers, for the Desert Angel projects. It's really nice.
Oh, that's terrific. How long have they been doing that, do you know?
Oh my goodness, for the Desert Angel for years and years.
Wow.
Ever since I worked at the newspaper in 2001 through 4. So
a great community effort, I think.
Yeah, it is. So I have kind of a bone to pick.
Oh, okay.
Having been the village president, I'm in support of Joe Frost being
Yes.
the president of that council. I think he's very even-keeled and very reasonable. It's a position to strictly facilitate the meetings and be a leader, not to grandstand and not to bully people into voting or whatever else can happen. I think Joe Frost has the temperament for that. I also think that they should have had a full board. I agree with Maureen. I watched the meeting and she said that she would prefer to have had a full board. They had that vote on that meeting because that was the next meeting after the elections, and by their bylaws they have to do that. Maybe the president pro tem could have called a special meeting when he knew everybody was going to be in town. That would have been a good resolution. I know that there was some verbiage that went on about Joe's absenteeism. Number one, I think the percentage number wasn't correct. And you know what? Everybody does this as volunteers. He goes there when he is there. He's read the entire packet, which is a lot more than I can say for a lot of boards that I've recognized or been able to witness. So I am really in support of that nomination.
From what I know of Joe Frost, and I've sat in on several meetings with Joe, and he's directed some of the meetings I've been in. He's very much in control.
Yep. Level-headed.
Very level-headed
Objective.
individual, and very articulate in what he
Yep.
does.
And he knows this community.
Oh, and he loves this community, and he lives in town.
Yep,
So-
yep. I think it's a really good choice. And if it doesn't work out for them in another 2 years or 4, I don't know where he stands and how long he's going to be on that council. But then they can change their minds. But
Yeah.
I think he's a good guy. He's open to conversation. If you don't think he's right, he's open to talk about it, which is really great. Rather than saying, I'm right, I'm the guy that's right, and I'm not going to hear what you have to say. You don't need somebody leading a board like that. You need somebody that's open to conversation, and I think he's the perfect person for that.
You know, I think it's a new chapter, for the village. And I think it may be a very strong, good chapter as well.
I hope so.
They've had some turbulent
They sure
past
have.
years.
Right, they have, and regardless of why, and we all have our opinion of why. I want to see that board succeed. I was on it for a number of years, and I did it because I loved the community. I love this community. I didn't do it because I wanted to grandstand or move on up or go anywhere else as far as political stations are concerned, and I think Joe is the same. So we have a kindred spirit.
All the right motivations, I think.
Right. So that's what we were talking about. And again, there's my opinion, and that's strictly my opinion. It's not the opinion of OCTV or even your opinion. But we agree too. And when we
Sometimes we
don't,
do.
we're able to talk about it.
Right.
So that's it for Oxford News this week. If you'd like to learn more about these stories or others, you can catch us on our website, occtv.org, on YouTube, and of course our regular channel Spectrum, Channel 191, and AT&T Channel 99.
And coming up on OCTV's news of this week is our very own Cody Wright with school sports and school news with Alexis Ware and Danielle Smith. And you won't want to miss Auto Talk and Science in the News with Dave Kenny.
I'm Terry Stiles. Thanks for watching Oxford News this week, where we bring your news closer to home.
And I'm Elgin Nichols. Remember, always be kind to your friends and neighbors, and thanks for watching.
Welcome to Science in the News. I'm Dave Kenny, and these stories are taken from the publication New Scientist. In our first story, after 4 years of deliberation, NASA has picked its next Mars landing spot, Jezero Crater. The hope is that it has the right environment to preserve signs of ancient life. Satellite images suggest the 50-kilometer-wide crater once had a river flowing along its rim into a big lake. It is thought to hold rocks that can preserve organic molecules such as clays and carbonates. It's located 18 degrees north of Mars' equator. Getting samples from this unique area will revolutionize how we think about Mars and its ability to harbor life, says NASA's Thomas Zurbuchen in a statement. If all goes to plan, NASA will launch its six-wheeled rover in July of 2020, and it will land on Mars in February of 2021. The lander will include a solar-powered drone to help pick out interesting spots to visit. The European Space Agency also plans to send a rover to Mars in 2020 and recently chose Oxia Planum, a large plane packed with clay rocks, as its preferred destination. In our next story, there's a new kilogram in town. Scientists from around the world met at the General Conference on Weights and Measures in Versailles, France, and unanimously voted for a new definition of the kilogram, one based on a fundamental physical constant rather than a lump of metal held in a vault in France. The change will go into effect on May 20th of 2019, and when this happens, it will mean all of our standard units are now defined using unchanging universal numbers instead of physical objects. Since 1879, we have officially defined the kilogram using a cylinder of platinum and iridium called Le Grand K, or the International Prototype Kilogram. If Le Grand K were to get scratched and lose a little weight, the value of the kilogram would officially go down. Other measures of weight, like pounds and ounces, have been officially defined by the weight of the Le Grand K for the last 139 years. Copies have been distributed around the world so that more people could calibrate weights and measures. But because there are discrepancies between Le Grand K and its copies, we know that our official definition of the kilogram has been slowly changing despite stringent measures to keep the reference weight safe from the elements. All of that is to change. From May, the official kilogram will be defined by the Planck constant, which describes the size of the smallest possible packet of energy. The Planck constant is incredibly small, so it's measured with a specialized piece of equipment called a Kibble balance. So far, only 2 labs have managed to make Kibble balances, but the hope is that eventually anyone will be able to accurately weigh anything without having to fly to France to compare it to the Grand K. In our next story, sleeping in on weekends may cause period pain by disrupting normal reproductive cycle, a study in female university students suggests. We already know that female shift workers are more prone to irregular menstrual cycles, difficulty in falling pregnant, and miscarriages, possibly because their irregular schedules affect their circadian rhythms that control their hormonal cycles. Yoko Kamada at Meiji Pharmaceutical University in Japan and her colleagues wondered if social jet lag, a pattern of sleeping in on weekends to make up for early starts during the week, may have similar effects. To find out, they surveyed 150 female Japanese university students about their sleep habits and menstrual patterns. The students were defined as having social jet lag if the midpoint of their sleep was an hour or more later on their days off than on their university days. Those with social jet lag reported significantly more pain, bloating, and behavioral changes during their periods. Moreover, the greater the social jet lag they had, the worse their symptoms were. These adverse health effects could not be explained by late-night drinking or smoking at the end of the university week, since almost none of the students drank alcohol and none smoked. Getting up later on days off may throw out the body's circadian rhythms, which are reset daily by light exposure upon waking, says Jonathan Sadernis at Uppsala University in Sweden. In either social jet lag or shift work, you miss time when your body is expecting to sleep and be exposed to light, he says. This in turn may affect circadian-controlled hormonal cycles that regulate menstruation and inflammation, Sadernis says. Previous research has found that sleep disruption can alter levels of the sex hormone or estrogen and cause signs of tissue inflammation, which may explain the link between social jet lag and menstrual pain, he says. However, more research is needed to confirm this, and that's that. Well, that's it for this edition of Science in the News. I'm Dave Kenny. Stay tuned to Oxford Community Television.
Hello and welcome back to School News. I'm Alexis Ware, and this week we have a new student host, Miss
Grace Butu.
And what grade are you in again?
I'm in 8th grade.
Okay, so this is your last year at the middle school. How does it feel to next year be going to high school?
I'm really excited for it because I feel like it's going to be really fun to be in the same school as my brother and then also be in like a new school and have a new environment. So
you have an older brother. What grade is he in?
he's in 10th grade.
Okay, so you already like know what the middle or high school looks like, where your classes are, so it'd be really fun and not too scary.
No, I'm actually pretty excited, more than scared about it. So.
Okay, that's good then. I heard it was a little different for me, but everyone's high school experience is different, but it's honestly one of the most memorable times in your life, so it'd be really fun. And then I know that you're in yearbook. Are you looking forward to that?
Yeah, I'm really excited. I hope I can pursue it throughout high school because I feel like it'll be a really fun elective to take. So
Yeah, and I mean, you won a MIPA award, and for those of you who don't know, MIPA is like a Michigan-wide conference, and a bunch of schools go and compete for the same awards, and you won it.
yeah,
So it's really cool. I mean, I actually, in high school, not even middle school, but high school, went to MIPA, and I lost a bunch. So, I mean, you're ahead of me already. You'll be great at it. So just diving into the news here. So it's not a lot on the community calendar since students are just coming back from break. How was your Thanksgiving break?
it was super fun. I got to spend time with my family and my cousins, and we all got to just hang out and get close and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's always fun. I feel like all holidays are kind of the same. It's just a different theme because you always get together with friends and family, and obviously you eat a bunch.
Yeah, I love Thanksgiving because of the food, and I also love getting close with my family and spending time with them. So
Especially if you don't see them often. It's always good to have that togetherness.
Yeah.
And you might hear that in the hall. We're like obviously doing school news in the hall right now, so there's a bunch of kids walking back and forth. But yeah, anyway, to go into it, what does being a leader mean to you?
being a leader, it just means to set an example for your peers and to not always per se be the person that's leading something, but just setting an example for the people that look up to you.
And that's what you were telling us in the schooling around segment, is that's how you got into yearbook, because your teachers thought that you would be a great role model.
Yeah.
So if it's anyone to take that advice from, it's her. All right, so that about does it for this episode of School News. Everyone, I hope that you had a lovely Thanksgiving break and spent time with your friends, family, and got closer. Until next time, catch you later.
What's going on, Wildcat fans? Cody Wright back here once again for this week's Sports Report. This week we're going to talk and take a look at the 5 girls swimmers who competed at the state meet. And we're also going to talk a bit about the boys hockey team and the start of their season. But before we get into that, let's take a look back at the boys varsity football team. Head coach Bud Raleigh was named OAA Red Division Coach of the Year after the impressive season we just witnessed from our Oxford football team with a 7-2 finishing record. Coach Raleigh says that the award should be an Oxford football award and says it's all because of the young men and the coaches on his side that help him run the team. He also speaks very highly of the school and the community at large. Raleigh has been coaching here at Oxford since 1976 and has no plans to retire anytime soon. His overall career record is 263 wins and 144 losses with 1 tie. I'm sure he has experienced some memorable seasons here at Oxford, and perhaps we just ended another one beating good teams such as Romeo and Clarkston. We definitely look forward to the next season. Let's switch gears now to the girls swimmers, where we have 5 athletes who competed in the state meet. Ashley Weltick, Grace Schoenstrom, Jenna Fissler, Callie Schnur, and Kiera Veltigen all ended their 2018 season on an impressive note. The girls' efforts earned them 29th place accolades. Utica Eisenhower and Livonia Stevenson ended up tied in the placement with Oxford. And last but certainly not least, the boys varsity hockey team had their first regular season game and started out with a 5-3 win against Lapeer. The boys had a rough night taking on Alliance in the preseason before, but we came out strong when it counted and got things off to a good start. With only 12 skaters and 3 goalies, Oxford and Avondale United is going to struggle with conditioning like we have in the past. But on the positive side, a smaller bench does mean more ice time, and that gives our guys more development for the season at large and the future to come. Also this week, the athletic department hosted an introduction ceremony for the winter sports athletes. We made sure to get out there to cover the excitement. Here is a bit of what we saw.
Meaning do the work that nobody else is willing or wants to do. This year we are living by the mantra all in. When we talk about being all in, we are talking about giving 100% each and every day in all aspects. For our student athletes, it means taking care of themselves by staying away from alcohol, tobacco, and other harmful substances. It means working hard in the classroom and respecting classmates, teachers, and themselves. And being all in means bringing 100% to each practice and game, ready to learn and do whatever is best for the team, not the individual. For parents, it means supporting our teams and coaches despite what your child's role is on the team. By being positive in the stands, by simply cheering on our athletes, and refraining from negative remarks about coaches, players, or officials. For our coaches, it means to show up each day ready to serve by teaching our kids core concepts like hard work, discipline, accountability, and commitment. In 12 years of experience, I can tell you, teams that have student athletes, parents, and coaches who are all in typically win championships, even if they are not the most athletically gifted team. In order for us to keep thriving and moving forward, collectively, we need to be all in. I always like to challenge our athletes, coaches, and you, the parents, before we head into the holidays. Today, when I was walking through a couple of the lunches, I could not help to notice a few students here, and they're sitting by themselves. It is our responsibility to come together and pick up anyone who is down or feeling out of place. I know we all have our own issues, but I want to challenge all of you to reach out to someone who needs a hand and help them out. Maybe it is a simple conversation, or maybe it's more. During this holiday season, I want to say, I'm very thankful to have the opportunity to work every day with such amazing student athletes and such great parents like you guys, and the amazing community of Oxford. Thank you so much for attending tonight and supporting Oxford High School athletics. Good night and go Wildcats.
It certainly is going to be an exciting winter sports season. That's going to be all for this week's report. After the holiday, we will be getting right into basketball season, which is a big talking point, both boys and girls. For any more info on these events and more that are coming up, go to oxfordathletics.org. You'll find upcoming schedules, game scores, and game breakdowns all right there. That is oxfordathletics.org. While you're at it, might as well check us out at OCCTV.org. All of our coverage of these events and more can be found on our YouTube page, which you can access through the website. Once again, that is OCCTV.org. Well, folks, I want to thank you all for watching and remind you to tune in next time. But until then, I'm Cody Wright. Go Wildcats.
There's a lot of history to Oxford. Hidden around every corner, deep in every crack, and sometimes right in front of you, waiting to be discovered. If you just dig a little, you'll find the great history of our beautiful town. Welcome to historic Oxford.
Welcome to this edition of Auto Talk. I'm Dave Kenny, and these stories are taken from the publication Automotive News. In our first story, Nissan chairman Carlos Ghosn would face a penalty of up to 10 years in prison and or fine of up to 10 million yen if convicted of financial improprieties in Japan under the country's Financial Instruments and Exchange Act. Nissan CEO Hiroto Sakawa told a press conference on November 19th that the company had found that Ghosn had been using corporate money for personal purposes and underreporting his income for years in official company filings to the Tokyo Stock Exchange. Another board member, Greg Kelly, was also deeply involved in the misconduct, Nissan said. Sakawa said he could not elaborate as the cases are being investigated by prosecutors who declined to comment. Prosecutors said that Ghosn and Kelly conspired to understate Ghosn's compensation over 5 years, starting in fiscal 2010 as being about half of the actual 9.9 billion yen, or $88.9 million. Public broadcaster NHK said Nissan paid billions of yen to buy or renovate homes for Ghosn in Rio, Beirut, Paris, and Amsterdam, citing unnamed sources. The properties had no business purpose and were not listed as benefits in TSE filing, NHK said. Ghosn was arrested November 19th for alleged financial misconduct as his plane touched down in Tokyo. Nissan said that it would seek to oust Ghosn from his post as chairman at a board meeting on November 22nd. Ghosn, 64, has not been formally charged. The Asahi newspaper reported that he and Kelly had submitted to prosecutors questions after getting off the plane on November 19th in the afternoon at Tokyo's Haneda Airport. Sakawa confirmed they had been arrested. Nissan Sakawa said Ghosn's alleged improprieties came to light through a whistleblower, after which the company began an internal investigation and informed prosecutors. After becoming CEO of a struggling Nissan in 2001, Ghosn was hailed as the automaker's savior by implementing an aggressive cost-cutting plan. Known for his flair and confidence, Ghosn won respect for his business acumen and for shaking up Nissan's traditional corporate culture, which may have made it difficult to hold him accountable. Ghosn became CEO of Nissan partner Renault in 2005, chairman of Nissan in 2008, and chairman of Renault in 2009, giving him considerable sway over both companies. On November 19th, Sakawa acknowledged that too much power had been concentrated in Ghosn. Looking back, after 2005, when he became CEO of both Renault and Nissan, we did not really discuss the implications, he said. France's finance minister, Bruno Le Maire, said on November 20th, Ghosn should not remain in charge of Renault after his arrest in Japan. If the misconduct continued for years, as Sakawa and analysts questioned how this could have passed undetected for so long unless internal auditors and senior management turned a blind eye. Under Japanese law, a suspect can be detained by prosecutors for up to 20 days before being charged or released. Tsutomu Nakamura, a former prosecutor at the Tokyo Public District Prosecutor's Office, predicted that Ghosn would be indicted on December 7th, the last working day before that maximum period. Ghosn is allowed access to a lawyer during his time in detention. If bail is granted, it would be exorbitant in hundreds of millions of yen or millions of dollars, Nakamura said. But in major cases like this, often no bail is granted until after arraignment at the first court session. Wow. At Volkswagen plans to spend about $50 billion over the next 5 years on a comprehensive electrified mobility strategy that includes making at least 15 million battery-powered autos and further research into autonomous driving. But any cooperation agreement with Ford Motor Company will remain limited for now to light commercial vehicles, Volkswagen board management said on November 16th. The scope of the company's investment was announced after the board's annual long-term planning meeting, where the group updates its strategy for a rolling 5-year period. In a press conference, CEO Herbert Diess, speaking through an interpreter, repeated that Volkswagen continues to talk to Ford about an alliance in light commercial vehicles where both automakers have smaller market shares. Diess said Volkswagen expects significant synergy effects from such an alliance and is discussing other areas where the two might cooperate, including replacing the Amarok compact pickup, but that Ford and Volkswagen will remain competitors. The Volkswagen CEO said that no decision has been made on where it will build a plant to assemble its electric vehicles in North America. He said the automaker's complex in Chattanooga, Tennessee, remains in contention, but a final decision would be taken in the course of the coming year. Well, that's it for this edition of Auto Talk. I'm Dave Kenny, and as always, may the wind be at your back as you cruise down life's highways.